So good day to everyone. It's Beis Sivan Vayichan Shom Yisrael Neged Ha'or. It's a day of unity, of Achdus, Vayichan Beis Sivan. And when we learn Chassidus, we're uniting ourselves with all Yidden, because even those that haven't yet learned Chassidus are one with Chassidus. It's just a matter of whether they know it or not. Now, of course, you will say that's Chabad propaganda 101. Maybe it is. But I believe at the right time I could argue rationally for that argument. But be that as it may, Vayichan Shom Yisrael means Achdus. Achdus is really all together, regardless of the colors and the stripes and everything else. And on a day like this, we have to take a few moments to really think about this, because at times it gets very, very difficult to have achdus with others that one might feel is very foreign to them and opposes them. I need not tell you that this issue is very prevalent, unfortunately, in Eretz HaKodesh, between the right and the left, and the Datiyim and the Chilonim, and all of that. So the fact that over the centuries, we Yidden have had this issue, it's not a Dover Chodesh, Ein Chadash Tachat HaShemesh. There's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new. And yet, we somehow have come along so far, and we have built bridges. So this is the day of looking at that in one's own life. Are there individuals, are there communities, are there situations where I'm not be'achdus with them, I'm not united with them? And today is a day to somehow come up with a formula, a recipe, how to bring achdus into those situations as well. Getting to the Maamar here, we're on page 412. I want to read the summary of chapter 11. It was a long chapter, a very kind of difficult chapter. So let's see how Rabbi Tauder, who's translated this, summarizes it. Here we go. On this basis, it can be explained how through their divine service, the Yidden, the Jews, can increase the revelation of light on Moshe's level. Moshe Rabbeinu, as great as he is, he needs us. The question is, how can we, midgets compared to Moshe, increase his level? To explain that concept, in terms relating to our divine service, Moshe connects the Jewish people with the Oyer Ein Sof, with the infinite Hashem, sustaining and nurturing their faith. That is, bringing out a higher dimension of faith, that the faith should come not only from the revealed powers of the soul, but from the essence of the soul. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu does for us. After the revelation of the essence of the soul has been brought out within them through Moshe's efforts, the divine service of the Jewish people, the divine service of the Jewish people, and their striving that even their revealed powers should be aligned with the essence of the soul, increases and brings out a higher quality. In this manner, the true source of the essence of the soul, as it is rooted in God's essence, is revealed. Pashi, please close the windows, too much noise for the shir, and turn the air conditioner on. Thank you. So, what we learned in this paragraph in English, not in French or Spanish or Portuguese, what we learned here is that we need a Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Myers, we need a Moshe Rabbeinu. Each one of us needs a Moshe Rabbeinu in our lives. Why? Why is a rabbi not good enough? Why isn't a gadol not good enough? Because a rabbi, a rav, a gadol, a leader, a manik, they're all special and they all have great purpose and they're all fine and wonderful people, but they don't do what it says in this first paragraph. Sorry. Because that's not their job. That's not their job description. The job description of a Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation is to do what it says here. And what is that? To reveal within us something greater than we ourselves touch normally. What is that? And that is that not only do I serve God in a situation of distress, of difficulty, of Mesiras Nefesh, when I'm challenged and faced, I stand up and I say, I'm not going to give in and I'm going to break through, which is special and wonderful. But also when you're a free person, he teaches you how to access that part of you, even when you're free, because you realize that you're missing the Geula, you're missing redemption, Shchinta begalusa, as it says, the Shechina is in Golus. And Moshe teaches us how to have that same sense of commitment, which he calls here the higher level of the soul, etc., that too should be in sync with Hashem. And by doing that, Moshe gets an uplift. Moshe gets something that he didn't have before. Because before, he's Moshe Rabbeinu as God's messenger, right? He does Hashem's work, Yoini. And that's it. What about he himself? How does he grow? Not just as a messenger, an intermediary. So the Maamar explains that Moshe Rabbeinu grows because he needs the Jews. He needs us. The head needs the feet. Without the feet, the head cannot get to where it needs to be. I don't care what kind of great head you have, what kind of great person is. You need soldiers, you need people. For a moment, historically, those individuals that didn't have a team behind them didn't rise to the top. And if they rose to the top, it was short-term. It didn't last. Look around, look at history and civilizations who made it and those that aren't around anymore, etc. There are people who are they're very bright and very brilliant in their own right, but they don't make it on the global map of Judaism, of Torah. Why? Because they didn't have a team with them. Now that could be because that's their nature. That's fine, but that's the facts. The facts is that a leader is only a leader if he has followers. In the terminology brought in Chassidus Chabad, Nasha, Ein melech beloy am. You aren't a king, you aren't a melech without a nation, without subjects. But why? This man is king-like material. This person is superior. This person has leadership qualities. Thank you very much. What is he, a melech over cats and dogs? Cats and dogs are important, but a melech is a melech over human beings. Ein melech b'layam. And if the nation isn't saying from their own perspective that you are the right man and we want you as our king and we will submit and be subservient to you, he's not a melech. So when we say that the Yidden gave Moshe something that he didn't have, it's this nakuda, it's this point. They gave him the right and the ability to be the true Rabbeinu, Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm using the words melech. Although he wasn't a melech, like I told you, one of the Peshiurim, the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and Mashiach Tzidkenu and the righteous Mashiach is that Mashiach will be called Rabbeinu and also Melech HaMashiach, the King Mashiach. Whereas Moshe is not called King Moshe. You don't find such a thing. He's called Moshe, our teacher. because his idea was to communicate and teach the Yidden what Hashem told him. He was a Rebbe, a teacher. He wasn't a Melech. But I'm using the idea of Melech, the concept, for Moshe Rabbeinu in the context of this Maamar. Notice the Rebbe in this Maamar is not explaining and talking about the difference between a Rabbeinu and a Melech. Okay, it's not this Maamar. There are other Maimarim where he discusses that, but not here. But what he talks about here, Chaim Zev, is that this Moshe Rabbeinu is receiving an upgrade because of the Yidden. Let's go on to the next paragraph. Paragraph 2 on page 412 in the summary. The above concepts enable the resolution of one of the questions raised at the outset of the Maamar. That one verse speaks of kindling a constant lamp, while another states, this is in Parshas Titzave in the beginning, it states that the lamps must burn from evening and morning, until morning. From the perspective of Moshe himself, it is at night, that is, when there are oppressive decrees, that the essence of the soul is called into expression. When, however, the Jewish people bring oil to Moshe, that is, they internalize the influence. Please mute yourself, whoever's not muted. I think Moshe Myers, you're not muted. Please mute yourself, whoever's not muted. Or maybe it's Yoini, sorry. Yoini, mute yourself. When, however, the Jewish people bring oil to Moshe, they internalize the influence of the essence of the soul. The essence of the soul shines as a constant lamp and is revealed even in a situation of prosperity when the Jews are not challenged. This answers the question. Issa, the question was, why the discrepancy in the Torah of the language? Me'erev ad boiker versus ner tamid. Make up your mind. Which is it? So you'll say, well, it's one and the same. Well, if it's one and the same, you don't say it twice. And if it's one and the same, you don't change the language. And the Rebbe answers the question. The Rebbe says, Me'erev aboiker means at night, there's darkness, and you make from darkness light. So in other words, the emphasis there is transforming negativity, Laila, to boiker, to light, to morning. The addition of ner tamid is much greater. A constant fire, a constant candle burning means that even when you have prosperity, you're still longing for Hashem because the Shekhinah is in Golus. So the concept of kosis that he spoke so much about in this Maamar is expressed specifically through the words in the Torah, ner tamid, versus the words in the Torah, me'erev ad boiker. Is that clear? I want to make sure you understand. I just don't want to read and say and then have you look at me like goylams. Am I making sense? Okay. I guess since no one commented, I'm either making sense or I'm not making sense. But we have to go on. Third paragraph. 412, on page 412 in Lessons in the Maamar. These concepts are also reflected in the unity of the Jewish people. You see, Hashgacha Pratis, we're learning this on today's day. The revelation of the essence of the soul through Moshe's influence will establish bonds of connection among the Jewish people themselves. For from the standpoint of the essence of the soul, the Jewish people are a single entity. Nevertheless, the unity within the Jewish people that stems from the revelation of the essence of the soul can appear as an additional matter, something apart from their ordinary selves. Hence, this unity is established by de-emphasizing one's mundane concern concerns and highlighting the essential nature of the soul. When, however, the essence of the soul, as it is rooted in God's essence, is revealed, there is oneness amongst the Jewish people in all matters, even those matters involving material concerns. So in this last paragraph, he goes to the result. Let's put the air conditioner on. He goes to the result of the result that comes about from the Ner Tamid, from the Kosis. And that is that our material matter, right? Our bank account, our health, our relationships will be healthier and special if we access Ner Tamid. Why? Because Ner Tamid is who we are. Me'erev ad boiker, we're not Erev ad boiker today, right? Baruch Hashem, no one is coming and shooting and killing you for learning Torah now in this year, wherever you are. We're in a free world, in a democratic society. We hope so. But before, in Europe, pre-war, etc., Spanish Inquisition and times like that, you were killed for being a Jew. I think I told you once, I had a stopover once in Spain on the way there to Eretz Yisrael, and I had a whole day, so I decided to go and see a little bit of Jewish places. So I took the speed train from the airport to Madrid. I forget. The plane, we landed in Madrid to another city. I forget now. And I hadn't davened. So when I got out, it was already time to daven. So everything was like closed. So I davened where I was, outside. I davened. There was no minyan, nothing. Later I found out when I went to the museum and that I probably was davening on earth that there was so much Jewish blood spilled there. And then as I went around, of course, I saw many churches and I couldn't tolerate it. And I just got back on the train and I escaped. I just left. I just felt so uncomfortable. Why am I mentioning this? There is me'erev ad boiker, from darkness. You transform darkness. So on one hand, davening on earth that was once, there was Rahman l'Islam, Jewish blood, and all the tumah in the country, etc. It's like taking Erev and making of Erev Boiker, which you'd say that's Gavaldik. And it is Gavaldik. It is great. But there's something greater. Something greater is to transform, the streets, Dolev and Hamor and wherever you are. Transform your, when you walk in the street, the Mishkafayim, what are you thinking about? Ask yourself, what am I thinking about? Am I thinking about what's for supper? My kids, my grandkids, my job? All very important things. Says the previous Rebbe in his discourses at great length, we have to think Torah. And those that can say actually words of Torah when you walk in the streets, you should do that. So even if you walk from your apartment to your job, or you're driving in the car, you should be saying words of Torah, Mishnah, Mishnayos, Sukkim, Talk Sukkim, Tanya, whatever you know. They tell a story of a chassid, Reb Chaim Moshe Alperovich was his name. The family is in Eretz Yisrael, many grandchildren. One of them, I think, is a mashpia in Kiryat Gat, a very popular Chabad yeshiva, Rabbi Alperovich. And I knew the son of this Reb Chaim Moshe, one of the sons. His name was Rabbi Yerachmiel Alperovich. He's already Leilam Emes. He lived to 95. He lived on Rehov Yafo. And he would daven many times in the Balatanya Shul, Shabbos. And he also would say Tilim at David HaMelech's Kever every day for Kollel Chabad. And he was a very fine Yid, very fine Yid. So knowing him, I didn't know the Chaim Moshe. I heard about him from Rabbi Yoel Khan and from him and others. So the story is that when they came from Russia in the 1935, I believe, that Eretz Yisrael, 35 into the 40s, the poverty was extreme. Extreme. I heard this from various people. Mamish extreme. And the greatest and biggest people schlepped boxes, drove on donkeys to sell bread and milk. It was like humiliating and embarrassing, but they had no choice because they needed to bring home money for their children and family. Reb Chaim Moshe was learned in Lubavitch, in the original Lubavitch. He was what we call a Tamim, and it was a Chassidish Yid. And later, when he passed away, the family asked the Rebbe if they could write on his matzeva that he was careful in machshava, dibur, and ma'aser. He was careful in all aspects, like a Beinani. I don't know if they said the word Beinani, but that's what a Beinani is, according to Tanya. And the Rebbe said you could write it. You're talking about a Yid, and he wasn't, Bucky and Shas. He was a regular Yid, a Chassid, a Lubavitch, a Chassid, but he was so careful in his machshava, dibur, and ma'aser. So I just described to you a little bit who I'm talking about. So at that time, they were building the country, and the job that he got was in the Dead Sea area over there, in Eilat, that sea area. And one of the things is they were building things and putting in infrastructure, and his job was schlepping boxes. Okay. Now he was born, I think, yet in the 1890s. Here we're talking about 1940, 45. So, he's not a youngster. He's not an old man, but he's just getting up there, and the schlepping boxes and the heat. I need not tell you, the heat of the Dead Sea is geferlach. There was no air conditioning in those days. So it was very taxing. He lived at the time in Yerushalayim. And he davened also, I think, at the Balatanya Shul in Meir Sharem over there. And one day, one or two people come to the shul and they say, "Where is Reb Chaim Moshe Alperovich?" So they say he's over there. They go over to him and they say, "Reb Chaim Moshe, we have a new job for you. The new job for you is to be in charge of people that are doing the schlepping. But we see you're a holy, you're like, for them, he was a tzaddik. These were commoners. I mean, regular Yidden, good Yidden, but they weren't with a Hasidic bar, the whole beard and everything else. They saw that this was a Chassid, and so they wanted to give him an easier job. And he told them, "Thank you very much, but no, I don't want this job. I want to continue schlepping the boxes." So they thought he was like Meshuggah. "We're offering you an easier job. You're getting older. It's boiling hot outside. You're breaking your back. We're giving you'll be like a supervisor." So he said to them, "Thank you, but no thank you." Why? I don't know if he said to them or someone asked him later, because they were bewildered and they left the shul like puzzled. Like they saw he's really a nut. He's a Hasidic nut. Like, who would turn down such a job? And he said later that his job as a supervisor would not allow him to think Torah the entire time, because he would be so busy worrying about everyone else that he has to supervise. But in carrying the box of schlepping from A to B, he's his own man, and as he does it, he's able to think Torah and say Torah. It's a story for the books. And it's not just a story for the books. This was a true Lubavitcher Chassid. I would say a Chassid, a true Chassid, and especially a Lubavitcher Chassid. So what's the connection to what we're learning now? We're talking here about the difference between Erev Ad Boiker and Ner Tamid. Erev Ad Boiker is when there's a dire situation, when there's a challenge. Do you rise to the occasion? Do you show what you're made of? Ner Tamid means it's constant, it's flowing. Moshe, it's flowing. There's no issues. It's just going good. Everything's going good. Ask yourself a question. Do you feel the same connection? Do you feel the same burning passion for Hashem like you did when you were oppressed, Or now that you're coasting and everything is going fine and dandy, you just are not the same in your connection to Hashem. Ner Tamid implies that this is what we need to be constantly. And so that when we express that, when things are going well and we are prosperous and successful, etc., we still are bothered that there's no Geula and that Shchinta Bigolusa. This is the message of this chapter. And that's why it's very real. Because today we're still in Golus. There isn't Geula. Okay? Regardless of what you feel and think, it's all nice and dandy, but sorry. The Beis HaMikdash is not here. The Kohen is not serving. And we have enemies trying to destroy us. And inside ourselves, we have so many issues. And there's mental health issues in the world. There's so many problems. When Mashiach comes, it will all be gone. That's what it says in Chazal. If we believe in Chazal, that's what it says. So the Rebbe says, this is kosis. This should bother you. And again, I emphasize, not to bother you to become depressed or to become, say, this is all nonsense and baloney. 1900, 2,000 years in Golus, and Mashiach is still not here. First of all, don't play God. Don't start with God, because if you start with God, it ain't good. So just let Hashem do his job. That's number one. Number two, if you really want to find glimpses of Geula, the fact that we are studying. You're in Eretz Yisrael, I'm here in America, we're learning Chassidus, we're learning Torah in a classroom situation, is part of Geula. To me, it's 100%. There's not even a question. And in every way, shape, or form, there's so much happening in a positive way to Am Yisrael that it is a stepping stone for Geula. But to become complacent and not to have a drive that we need Geula and we can't take this Shchinta B'Galusa, that has to be within our soul, within our revealed powers, etc. This is B'Kitzur, what we learned. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, we'll finish the Maamar. It was one more paragraph, one more chapter. And Wednesday, we'll have a Fabrengen for Shavuos. Have a good day, everyone. Zayt Batzliach. Bye-bye.